Nikola Tesla, the eccentric genius who brought us the modern alternating current electrical system. But did he really have an IQ of 300? Let's find out. Hi, it's me, and this is Nikola Tesla, in 100 seconds. His father was a Serbian Orthodox priest, and his mother was a local peasant woman. When he was 5, the family moved to a small village in modern-day Croatia. He grew up here and learned to read and write in a small schoolhouse. Then, when he was 14, his father died, and Nikola had to become the man of the house. He stopped going to school and instead spent his time reading books about electricity. When he was 16, Nikola and his brother set up an electric motor in their basement. This inspired him to enroll in a technical school in Austria. After graduating, he got a job at a large electrical company. It wasn't long before his colleagues noticed that he was crazy. He would walk around muttering to himself, and sometimes even go days without sleeping. But despite his odd behavior, Nikola was brilliant, and his colleagues liked him. So they offered to help him get a job at their rival company. This was a big opportunity for Nikola, but he had one condition. He wanted the job to be in America. In those days, there was a war going on between two electrical companies. One used direct current, or DC, while the other used alternating current, or AC. AC was cheaper and easier to transmit over long distances, but DC was more reliable. Nikola wanted to prove that AC was just as safe and efficient as DC. If he could do that, he would win the war for his new employer and become famous. So in 1884, at the age of 28, Nikola came to the United States. He spoke very little English and knew almost nothing about American culture. But he was eager to get to work. The head of his department became his mentor, teaching him how to build a laboratory and design experiments. Over the next few months, Nikola and his team built an induction motor, which is still considered to be one of the greatest inventions of all time. They then demonstrated that it could be used to power everything from small household appliances to large industrial machines. News of this invention quickly spread throughout the country. Newspapers ran stories about the amazing new technology, and soon the whole world was talking about Nikola Tesla. Finally, he had achieved his goal of becoming famous, but unfortunately, it didn't last for long. You see, by 1887, Nikola had become obsessed with proving that AC was better than DC. He was so focused on this that he neglected his personal hygiene and stopped seeing his friends. Eventually, he began to see strange things like sparks coming out of walls and heard voices telling him to kill people. His colleagues became worried about him and tried to take away his experiments. But he fought them off and destroyed much of his work. In the end, he was declared insane and taken to a hospital where he spent the rest of his life. There are conflicting accounts of what happened to him after he arrived at the hospital. Some say that he lived out the remainder of his days in relative peace, spending his time reading books and writing poetry. Others claim that he was never accepted by the staff and patients and spent most of his time alone in his room. What is certain is that he died penniless in 1943 after suffering a stroke. He was initially buried in a pauper's grave, but after people realized who he was, his body was dug up and moved to a more prominent location in the cemetery. Even today, people visit his grave to pay tribute to him. So, is it true that he had an IQ of 300? Well, there is no evidence to support this claim. What we do know is that Nikola was a brilliant engineer and scientist who made some of the most important discoveries in history. He was also a troubled man who suffered from mental illness. Maybe if he had received the help he needed, he could have accomplished even more. As it is, his legacy lives on in the form of the modern electrical system. So the next time you flip a switch or plug in an appliance, take a moment to remember Nikola Tesla. Thanks for watching Light Clock and